Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Bad Rating Podcast. I can barely keep a straight face because
Why?
You don't get to see
Why?
the little dances that everybody does
Doing anything.
while the theme music's playing. And okay, I am Atlas Novak. With me is my co-host.
I'm Nick Kane. What's up?
Nick Kane. And with us today, he died in 2005 and awoke in 2009. His words, not mine. Please welcome Mike Menendez.
I needed the sleep. Huh? I'm sorry that they can't see it. Maybe they can hear my dance. Can you my bad.
He needed a good cat nap.
He was doing like that kind of surfer like.
That's who made that? Is that someone made that?
No, it's a free audio track I got from like the internet. I just happened to find it.
Wouldn't it be funny if you found out like that's a beat that Kanye West made in his spare time and just sold to free? Wouldn't it be funny if you track down the producer? It's like, oh no, that's the last thing Mozart wrote before he died. You gotta track down the producer. It's funky. I like
we
it.
played it over and over at his funeral.
Who would have thought that an Austrian composer would have had Christmas bells in his last symphony ever?
Well, you know what they say about those Austrians, man.
Yeah.
They eat cottage cheese before 9, whatever their thing
They
is.
eat
I
ass.
have no idea. Do they?
They do. Yeah.
I mean, everybody does nowadays.
They're more
over-
advanced than we
They're
are.
over there killing archdukes and stuff, you know.
Does everyone eats ass, but does everyone taste ass? You know what I mean?
Gotta savor the ass.
Okay, now you're being crude. No, that's not. Yeah. Well,
do you
actually,
have
that's
a
what I was
diverse palate? Do you? In ass-atry?
Yes, I actually have. Yeah. I mean, we're here to talk about something else, though.
Yeah.
Let's go on.
Okay, so this is the Bad Rating Podcast where we get somebody who's a fan of something and read them terrible fan fiction for that thing. Mike Menendez, when I asked you what you were into, you gave me 3 very interesting answers.
Uh-huh.
And what is it? What is the topic you picked for today?
Okay, but can we talk about the other 2 first?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so this all stems from me going to Blockbuster when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd go to Blockbuster, and my mom would let me pick out any movie I wanted, like on a Friday. And I'd go to the comedy section, and for some reason, I was always very intrigued by like black films.
Okay.
Like I liked like black comedies, like comedies with African Americans in them for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
So the ones that I picked for today were "Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Your Juice in the Hood," a Wayans Brothers movie that I think is one of the best comedies of all time and should be in the National Registry.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
It's hilarious.
It is, yeah.
There's a joke like every 10 seconds in that movie. It's great. And then the other one I picked was Bebe's Kids.
Yeah.
Which was based. It was based on a Robin Harris routine. Right? You know Robin Harris?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's Chicago guy. I mean, people accused Bernie Mac of kind of taking his essence. I think they were both great in their own right. But it was a cartoon. And me and Chris Gardner talk about Baby's Kids all the time. We always like text each other like, we don't die, we multiply. Baby's Kids. And then the one we ended up picking today. It's funny because I remember when Black Panther came out like a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's like, finally a black superhero. And I thought to myself, I was like, did you guys not see Meteor Man in 1993 starring Robert Townsend? and most people do not know. And the people that do know nerd out about it. Because it's it's a movie that I always think should be remade. I'm surprised that Kevin Hart has never like wanted to remake Meteor Man because it's really pertinent. It's about a teacher who gets superpowers and fights these Dennis Rodman looking motherfuckers in a neighborhood in a impoverished neighborhood in DC.
Dude, that's perfect for Kevin Hart.
Yeah, switch it to Philadelphia or Southside Chicago, and just update the golden. All the Golden Lords look like Dennis Rodman. Just make them look like a Lil Pump now. Whatever like the new evil looking thing is, Skittle hairs, whatever those dudes are, mumble rapping.
Yeah, do you want us to bleep that whole part out so nobody steals like the idea for you, so you can like pitch it to Kevin Hart?
No, man, that's for free for Kevin Hart.
Okay. Before this episode started, I was like just complaining basically to Mike that these were deep cuts or like just stuff that. I hadn't heard of any of these movies except for Bebe's Kids when you said those 3. So I watched Meteor Man and I watched Don't Be a Menace, and I couldn't find a lot of stories for either. I imagine for Don't Be a Menace it's because the long title kind of betrays it to doodle.
Yeah, it really people when they refer to it they just refer to it as Don't Be a Menace.
Like It's Always Sunny.
Yeah, kind of like that. Exactly.
Yeah, so
exactly.
Before this episode started, Mike literally dragged me out of the room and down the hall to where 3 black people were having a meeting about something, and he was like, "Hey, have you guys seen Meteor Man?" And all 3 of their faces lit up.
Yeah, see, and I told him like that's the thing, man. It's just you gotta talk with everybody, man. And you gotta know everything. I really am a believer of that.
You gotta know.
You gotta know everyone, and you gotta know everything, because black people know the. I think Jamar Neighbors said in a joke, he's like, "How come I'll go see the whitest movie like Flipper, but y'all won't go see like Dead Presidents or something like that?" Like, you know what I mean?
I enjoyed both of those movies immensely. It's just it didn't come across like I'm white. A lot of my friends.
Oh really?
Are
I
white.
didn't. Oh, yes.
You're the poster
Yes.
child.
All right, first of
for
all,
it.
Yes.
Atlas. Let me
Okay.
let me help you rephrase.
Yeah.
You are offensively white, and then
Yes.
your friends are
Are-
respectable white.
Yes,
So
exactly.
I like it. You gotta surround yourself with good company.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that it just didn't come up.
Right.
Yeah.
No, of course it didn't come up. It really only came up for me because I went to Blockbuster. Like, all my friends were Cuban until I was like, pretty much until I was like 23, 24. All my friends were Cuban or white. I just wasn't around a lot. It's a lot of black people. Like, I knew like my friend Lamar Clark from Liberty City. He would come to where I live sometimes, but that was like the only guy I was really around.
Mhm.
So all this stuff just came out of just natural curiosity, and just the cover looks really cool. Did you
It
see
does
the cover?
look really
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
It's him in that gray suit, and Robert
Yeah.
Townsend, who's like one of the like most likable comedians ever. He gets kind of lost because he's done a lot of things behind the scenes, and he's done like, what was that show he did? Parenthood, I think it was Parenthood.
Yeah, I think it was Parenthood.
Parenthood, and then he directed Raw.
Mhm.
Eddie Murphy's Raw.
Yeah.
And I think maybe he did Delirious too. He's a point man for a lot of great comedians, and he is a really great comic in and of himself. And this movie is filled with great people.
Yeah.
Sinbad's in it. Ruby D is in it.
love
Eddie
Sinbad.
Griffin is in it. And Bill Cosby plays a homeless man.
Yep. Yes, he does, and that was very weird watching that. I was like,
Yeah.
Bill Cosby?
Yeah,
Like-
now it's funny for a different reason, but
Yeah.
back then it's like, dude, the richest dude on set is playing a homeless guy. That is hilarious.
or it's like the richest, the dad
Yeah,
of America is playing like a raunchy homeless.
a
dude.
homeless
Now
guy.
it's
Yeah.
like,
And did you notice the second in command in the Golden Lords? Who that was?
no.
Goldilocks.
Holy shit!
Don Cheadle. That was Don Cheadle.
Wow, I didn't even.
Don Cheadle's in that movie.
Fuck, I
Yeah.
didn't even know. Wow, that is a star-studded
Yeah.
cast. That's
God,
yeah.
I learned something
I
new
didn't
every
even
day.
notice that was Don Cheadle. That's crazy.
Don Cheadle. It's one
Yeah.
of his first roles, like major roles.
Yeah, I've gotten some credit, or we've gotten some criticism about this show where they're like, I haven't heard of this thing. Why aren't you doing more popular stuff? And it's because we want the people who come in here to be fans of what we're reading to them.
What do people usually like pick?
TV shows. We've done like more popular stuff like Seinfeld, but there's also been like Sex in the City and Ally McBeal.
Pushing
like,
Daisies was in one, or
Yeah.
Ally McBeal was another one.
Okay.
But everybody was like, "You haven't done Rick and Morty yet." It's
Yeah.
like, we'll get
Relax,
to
we'll
that.
get
Yeah, we'll
there.
get there. And this
Yeah.
episode is going to be for like I will say stop this podcast right now and go watch Meteor Man and then come back.
I think that's just kind of in parentheses for most of this. If you're not a fan of the thing we're
No,
reading
but
about,
my hope is that talking about it and as excited as I am about it, people will go and see it. Now, is it a good movie? No, it is a very entertaining one though, and it is filled with a lot of great people. It's the technology was ahead of its time. I mean, it's the type of movie that was. The effects look corny.
Mhm.
A lot of the stuff is really, really stupid. Like he can communicate with dogs.
Yeah,
If he touches a book, he all of a sudden has like all the knowledge of that book.
and then
So that's why, yeah, like
and
there's
stuff. Yeah,
There's that part where him and the head Dennis Rodman dude, the head Golden Lord, they both I think touch like a Vogue magazine by accident,
mm-hmm.
and then they both just start doing runway modeling as opposed to fighting. That's so stupid, but it's so funny. Yeah.
I mean, no, like I agree with you. Like these days, like I just go when I watch a movie. Like if I don't get a couple of laughs, like it was a waste of time. Like if,
Yeah.
I don't care if it's like well made. If it's funny, then it was a good time.
Right.
I just imagine you in the theater like you're going to see 1917. This wasn't funny at all. This was not worth my time. I want my money back.
I can't watch another World War I or World War II movie. I don't understand why this country's still so
Yes.
fascinated about
World
that.
War II, I get, but World War I think is criminally under represented in a lot of movies. Like,
yeah, sequel's better than the original.
I mean,
Better villain, bigger body count,
no,
dude.
that's what makes it more interesting to me is that there's less of a concrete villain and it's more gray areas,
Yeah.
especially leading up to it.
Yeah, I feel like World War One was like World War One was like directed by David Lynch, and then World War II was directed by Michael Bay. There was way
That's
more.
exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But like even in school, when
We
you're
gotta have a clear villain. He's gotta have a terrible mustache, bad actor, yelling a lot.
The Iraq War was directed by M. Night Shyamalan.
M. Night Shyamalan.
Turns out we were the bad guy all along.
Oh.
But like, just
Word.
even as a kid, when you learn about World War One, it's okay. A guy got shot, and then trenches and gas warfare, horses. Okay, we're done. Like it's they have such a boner for World War II that I didn't get there.
No, World War II.
It had a perfect bad guy for it. Like it was perfectly cast.
I always get confused. How did
What?
World War One start?
Okay, so
It's not the Archduke Franz Ferdinand. That
It
was,
is.
It was.
Oh, I thought that was World War. Oh, that is right.
No,
Sorry, that's Hitler.
It's not just him. That's the match in front of the powder keg. It's everyone has these like complicated system of alliances,
right.
and like phones and stuff aren't quite there yet. So when one army starts mobilizing, then you have to mobilize your army, and then they have to mobilize their army, because the belief at the time was whoever gets to the field first wins, and that is definitely not the case, because everyone's got like
Not anymore.
huge artillery like at the time.
Yeah.
All right. I got an idea. So World War One breaks out, right? And America has only one hope, and that's Meteor Man.
Yeah,
And
but he America doesn't even show up till 1917. You want to have like Austria-Hungary.
they don't show up because Meteor Man doesn't show up until 1917.
Exactly.
He's a
We was wait
Yeah.
for Meteor Man.
yeah.
All right, let's do this. The story in question that we're reading for you today, Mike, is called Meteor Man 2.0.
Oh no.
And the little tagline for it is 20 years after losing his superpowers, Jefferson Reed is approached by a government agent claiming that not only is there a new generation of meteor-powered individuals getting more powerful by the day, but that he can also restore Jefferson to his rightful place as the Meteor Man.
Boo.
I had a little heartbeat for you.
That was good. I was like, is he about to laugh or is he doing a heartbeat?
Doing a heartbeat. Yeah, I was trying to
Did that guy basically just say I can throw a fucking meteor at you? Because that's how he got his powers originally.
It's true. All right.
That scene, by the way, is
who's the author?
Oh, right.
And the year.
Yeah, let's see. The author is, we got this from fanfiction.net. It's W.D. Mitchell 24, and it was written August 6th, 2013 was when it was
okay, that's
published.
Okay.
We'll
7
put-
years ago.
We'll put the link to the story in the description for you to find, and also giving them credit. What's up?
By the way, so how grossed out were you by the pieces of the meteor going into his flesh? Because that is beyond disgusting. I haven't seen the movie in a while, and I still remember that part, like going inside of his flesh.
Yeah, it's like, it's one of those things where you close your eyes and you can see it still.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
for a couple of days after, I would be like trying to sleep and just the
Yeah.
back of your eyelids are that image.
Oof.
Yeah. It's disgusting, for
Just
sure.
staring into the sun. Like,
Pretty much. All right. Detective Michael Anderson dragged his fingers through curly black hair as he stepped out of his unmarked sedan. As usual when on assignment, he wore dark brown slacks and a freshly pressed white shirt. Reaching back into the car, he snagged the matching jacket and shrugged into it. 5 steps carried the veteran policeman with arm length of a uniformed office, at least 10 years Anderson's junior. Officer, Anderson started.
Is this a Meteor Man fan fiction or War and Peace? Like, why is there's so much description?
I mean, that's most fan fictions where they're
Oh,
like,
for real?
yeah.
they just kind of talk like that for whatever reason.
They talk like they're writing Ulysses. This is 1,000 pages on a Jamba Juice employee.
You would be surprised how many fan fictions like they start off like that and they think they are like
Hemingway.
Hemingway and Fitzgerald. You'd be and then they have the worst grammar we've ever seen. But yeah, I don't
They
know.
were friends, but they were more than friends, even though they all came from different backgrounds. But one thing combined them: the traveling pants and their sisterhood. Shut up! Shut up!
Our story begins like, yes, I know.
Like I totally get if you're doing that for like adult like sex novels and stuff like that, that's perfect because you need the build up. But I don't need the build up for a dude just to go get money out of an ATM. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
No, yeah.
I mean, fan fiction simultaneously assumes you know everything and nothing about the universe that it's doing. So just watch out for that because it happens no matter what piece you're reading.
Right.
Officer, Anderson started. The young man snapped to attention and lowered next stop.
I'm gonna be doing the physical for the story.
What, just for the visual?
Yeah, just
people?
for the visual.
All right.
Yeah.
And lowered the
I'd imagine he just turned his head and went, snap! I don't know why that's what I thought.
Officer.
Snap!
I'm getting kind of a Kramer vibe from that. Jerry.
Yeah.
Jerry?
And lower the pad he had been scribbling notes on to his side.
Oh, that's good. I like that.
That was good. Good sound effects. All right.
Or maybe it could be the sound of the paper. Like, do that writing thing again, and I'll be the piece of paper. Ah! Oh, God! Oh, God! I miss being wood. I was so much stronger when I was wood. Sorry, go on.
Your mind is a Salvador Dali nightmare.
I know that's how boring this thing is that I thought about the paper's feelings. Like like the paper's the most interesting character in this thing to me. Because it used to be wood and actually had a transformation of some sort. Keep going.
Thomas, sir, the officer finished. Anderson gave his colleague a quick assessment. In contrast to the deep creases on Anderson's forehead, Thomas had the youthful appearance of a high school senior that had yet to be aged by the demands of their profession as Anderson had.
Mr. Anderson.
The clean-cut man was lean, with sharp features, and would not be out of place in a room full of underwear models.
Is this Meteor Man or Fast and the Furious? I don't understand what's going on. What happened to Jefferson Reed? Where is he?
We don't know yet.
I mean, you don't really meet Harry Potter as you know him until a couple chapters in.
Oh,
right?
I see. Okay, got it.
So maybe
Right.
they gotta set the scene or whatever.
Right.
This him? Inquired Anderson with a subtle tilt of his head. Affirmative, the junior officer replied. Says his name is Jimmy Lane.
Wow.
Jimmy Lane?
So much detail leading up to meeting Jimmy Lane and no thought to his name. Jimmy Lane.
Anderson nodded and approached the man. Still seated on the curb, Jimmy Lane looked up and caught Anderson's gaze. Detective Anderson, at your service. I've been told you have a statement to make. The flying man told me confession was good for the soul, so I want to turn myself in.
I like the voice you're using for this.
Yeah,
I had to turn myself in.
I like that voice.
I like that you're doing. Your voice is slightly modulated from what you
Normally
are. You ever meet people that they tell stories, and then usually knows it's drunks. They tell stories where their voice is already naturally annoying, but then they do other people's voices as if those people are actually more annoying than them.
Yeah.
It's like, I was talking with Anderson the other day, and he was like, "Hey, man, Patty, what's going on with everything?" Like,
Dude,
yeah.
don't take my set. Like,
Yeah,
on
exactly.
stage, right?
Is that a joke that you do?
No, that's pretty much my whole act. I just mock people.
No, I know. It's so funny.
Exactly.
My buddy Patty Mac, his name was Patty Mac back in Chicago. He's a dude from the Bay. Like, he used to longboard when it was like 10 degrees outside in khaki shorts and shit. He used to do that. He'd be like, I was talking last night, and Stacy comes out, and she's like, Patty, you're so weird. I'm like, that's not how Stacy sounds at all. That's not how Stacy sounds at all. I'm thinking of a Koopa, like from the Super Mario Brothers live action movie. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, God.
I know what Stacy looked like, and she don't look like a Koopa. She looked like a sexy flamingo.
The problem is I don't know what voices
Or a flamingo.
to give these people, so I'm just kind of making things
I like it.
up, I guess.
Go ahead.
All right. 15 minutes later, on the traffic-choked streets of downtown Atlanta, the four occupants of a black SUV tried to distract their collective attention from their surroundings.
By the way, it's really a shame that he fast-forwarded 15 minutes because I really would have loved to have seen how he would have made the 15 minutes of boringness even more boring than they already are.
Do you want us to flash back to
I
15
think-
minutes
yeah,
earlier
let's
when
write
you were alive?
I think even the author.
Jimmy
was like,
Lane
okay,
wondered where he would be 15 minutes from now as the clock turned.
Even the author was like, okay, I gotta speed this up. Like,
Yeah,
this
no,
is
seriously.
fucking-
Yeah, even he was like, I'm bored. 15 minutes later. Go ahead.
That almost reads like a script, sort of like
Interior
15
scene.
minutes later.
Fade to.
Fade to black.
Fade out.
Interior.
Get
Coffee shop.
faded.
My God. All right. Kyle Jordan was a beefy man, the sort of guy that was
A beefy man?
beefy man.
Does that mean he was thin like a Slim Jim, or he was fat like Meatloaf?
That's a good question.
They both have beef.
Usually when people say beef, they mean like muscular.
I know,
like a unit.
I know.
But that is a good, like, beefy could mean anything. You're
It
like,
really could.
yeah.
He was a
Depends on the
beefy
size
man.
of your beef.
Yeah, or the amount of gristle. Yeah,
That should that's like a Tinder profile like description. This man is beefy.
Yeah.
You like beefy man?
He's really beefy.
beefy, but like the chuck steak type of beefy. Yeah, the sort of guy that was not embarrassed to take off his shirt after a hard day's work, but would never grace the cover
He's
of a
Polish.
muscle.
Okay. See, okay, there we go.
Okay, gotcha.
Cover of a muscle magazine. That's a very specific stereotype. Oh, you know those Polish always taking
They
off
love
their
taking their
shirts.
shirt off after work and cottage cheese before night. You know,
So racist. Can't believe
I like
it.
making weird, specific racist things.
Well, like making up stereotypes.
Yeah, I
or-
love making up like really specific stereotypes that sound like they could be real, but they're not. You know, Spanish people and going to elbow after they split a check. Like what? They knock elbows after splitting a check, dude. Look it up. Have you ever traveled? Get out of my face, okay? Cut to 15 minutes later. I tell him as we were eating ice cream. Yeah, I made that Spanish.
Oh my
Okay.
god.
His black hair was thick and naturally curly, and at his girlfriend's insistence, he often allowed a bang to hang just above his eye.
Oh.
She liked it, and he would do anything for her, which is why he had been sitting in traffic daydreaming about cartoon characters he would draw.
Oh my god.
Once he got home from tonight's high-paying fare.
I really hope the end of this story is that a giant meteor drops on all these characters as Jefferson Reed just happens to be walking by.
He was like, "Oh yeah, thanks for the superpowers again." You know.
I love it. So descriptive. I love, yeah.
He smiled as the theater of his mind depicted his protagonist deadpanning a cliched tough guy line dressed as a clown.
Okay, moving on.
You know it's bad because he's on his phone now.
Yeah, this dude's killing me. Sorry, I had to
both
check.
the pod,
No, it's okay.
both our guest and the technician are on their cell phones.
I can't.
Fuck.
All right, keep going.
All right. Jordan's client for the evening, Brian Reed, was seated comfortably in the back seat. Reed was the picture of financial power, lean and fit from tri-weekly sessions of tennis and a personal chef. He had a sharp, angular profile with what seemed like a permanent 5 o'clock shadow that many women found irresistible.
Many, but
okay.
not all.
How,
We've met, like, what, 6 people now?
this is another thing that fan fictions do. They get way too descriptive about like the features of the character, and they make it sort of sexual. Like they do that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's really weird. Like
His face looked like a dick, and his dick looked like a face as he trampled down East Hollywood.
His dick could sing. It's like
Or like the thing where guys try and write women, and it's like her supple bosom was bouncing bosomly. And
and then women, they think that women are going to read that and go like, I'm so glad his attention to detail is just amazing.
For once,
He sees
Diego was the one
he
doing
sees
the
us for the
exploring.
set of tits surrounded by a woman that we are.
the floral garden of Bush that encapsulated her forbidden garden. It's like, okay.
How much longer do we have in this?
He was the chief financial officer for a healthcare conglomerate headquartered in a 14-story building in the heart of the city and flaunted the company's success at every opportunity.
Oh, sure.
Tonight, his black cotton linen blazer, pleated pants, and Oxfords retailed at $3,000, and it was one of his less expensive ensembles. To Reed's right sat Sonia Sadler. Too much alliteration. The 34-year-old woman was his personal assistant and kept all of his affairs in order. If pressed, Reed would confess to being attracted to the woman.
Mm.
She had corn silk blonde hair that he
God.
He's taking his headphones off. You okay?
No, I'm putting them upside down.
Yeah.
Corn silk.
Silky, corny hair.
Yeah,
That would make Hitler blush.
Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
it's okay. That he realized he had never seen out of its unique effect.
Sorry, I want to go to sleep and dream of corn silk blonde hair. Sorry.
She was
Just hearing voices of like, wow.
She was a slight woman, and more than one man had joked about her being carried off by a strong wind. Her green eyes were her best feature by far in his mind. Reed had nearly drowned in those eyes before, and tonight he swore he had glimpsed jealousy glide over the emerald pools when he revealed his plans to treat the...
I'm sorry. She has green eyes?
Yeah.
And he almost drowned in them?
Yeah.
And he almost drowned in sewage water. In green... You drown in blue eyes. You don't drown in green eyes.
Yeah, it's green. It's gross.
Yeah.
Green
That
eyes,
kid is swimming near a power plant, and he needs to get away. Sorry, go ahead. That's the weird detail there.
either that or it's like pond scum.
Pond scum?
Yeah.
Well, I'll take a dip in some pond scum any day.
Wow.
Like,
All right.
where's the build up to this? Come on, like, author, don't fail me now. Come on.
Kill me. Should have gotten a coffee.
Over the emerald pools when he revealed his plan... Oh, wait. When he revealed his plans to
I'm
treat
so excited to talk about Meteor Man.
the aspiring singer at his left to dinner. Sonia ignored him and occupied her time talking in hushed tones on her cell phone. That's its own paragraph for some reason. The painfully skinny singer, Jasmine Young, prattled about some insignificant teenage drama, then quickly steered the mostly one-sided discussion toward which celebrities they might encounter at the restaurant. For you, Sonia said, holding out a second cell phone he had not noticed. She had painted her nails a salmon color, which she had always found a pleasant shade. I can't read from this far
Oh
away.
my god.
Okay. I've been trying to read it on like a table, and just like my eyes are not good
For
enough
the
for
audio
that.
listeners,
Dude,
Atlas gave up.
Dude, the Wu-Tang Clan miniseries was shorter than this shit. Like, they got through all 9 members of the Wu-Tang Clan faster than this guy is getting to Meteor Man.
I'm with you, man. Like, where's the action in
Yeah, where
this?
is it,
Like,
man?
come on. It's
It's
like
a superhero, and this is like it's a superhero movie, a cheesy superhero movie, and somehow I feel like he's describing a marriage story. Like, why is this?
Yeah.
Why is this such a down? All right, keep going. I'm sorry. And if you're listening,
You
right
don't.
now,
You don't have to keep apologizing.
I
It's
know.
fine.
By the way, if the person that listens to this, or that wrote this, listens to this, just know it's entirely personal. The way I feel about your, it's entirely personal because you're clearly not making the person have an orgasm that you're in love with. So, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I still can't wait for the day that somebody who wrote one of the stories that we made fun of
I know.
comes across
Oh,
the
that'd be great.
podcast.
I
Yeah.
faked my last 10 orgasms. Really? My corn silk blonde hair didn't do anything for you, baby? I told you I'm writing my fanfic.
My fanfic of this
fanfic.
1993 movie.
I showed it in class yesterday.
I don't know, seriously.
All right.
Clearly a white guy, too. That's the worst part of this.
Yes. Corn
Clearly
silk.
a Holden Caulfield ass motherfucker.
Corn silk blonde is he grew up on a farm and he like thinks everybody knows that. Oh my god.
Sorry.
Okay. So he's like, oh yeah, everyone knows corn silk, right? Right?
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Guys, come on.
that's an obscure reference, huh?
He grabbed the phone and listened a few moments. Can it be traced back to me? Blue LED light shined on Casey Kent's face. An instant later, he was awake, clutching his head as if someone had detonated a bomb inside of his head.
Can you?
Let me
did you
read
have
that
a stroke?
again. An instant later, he was awake, clutching his head as if someone had detonated a bomb inside his head.
Mind bomb. Gotcha.
Mind bomb. But, like, just head less than 10 words away from each other.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. The sudden violent movement of his awakening also disrupted the
Wait. Hold up. Maybe someone gave him bomb head, and that's a metaphor.
Yeah, I'm going with that one.
I'm going with bomb head.
Bomb head for bomb head.
Yeah.
Uh,
Actually, now that I think about it, I think that's like a Lil Wayne lyric I've heard before. It's like someone blew it, right?
fucking, this Arthur's ripping off artists now.
I know, seriously.
let's see. The sudden violent movement of his awakening also disrupted the slumber of his companion, Delisha Barber. How
Oh,
many
God.
fucking people is this? Delisha was a delicious shade of dark caramel.
Delisha was a delicious. Okay, well, now we have our first African American character in this.
Perfect.
Uh-huh.
Good.
Yeah.
Caramel color?
Dark caramel.
Dark. Oh, thank
That
God.
counts.
I thought-
Yeah. Why? What did you think caramel was going to be?
I was just hoping that we weren't like going from the lightest complexions to I wanted to get to like the type of people that live in DC.
Yeah.
We can cut that out because I want a career.
Just bleep it out. Like,
Oh, the rest of the sentence gets even worse.
Okay.
Delisha was a delicious shade of dark caramel, and he constantly threatened to nibble on her.
Delisha, if you don't behave, I'm going to nibble on you.
That is definitely a white person
Yeah, there you
sentence.
That's yeah.
She moaned, her body innately. I don't know who it was because I was looking at the computer screen. But
That was me.
She moaned,
Okay.
but like you do when you're being tortured, not when you're, not when having pleasure. Ugh.
innately aware that it would not achieve a sleep as deep as the one that had been abruptly ended until after work. Her hand groped his thigh, and Casey quickly placed a hand on top of it, as his other fumbled blindly for the device.
Whoa.
Drawn by the warmth of his body, Delisha scooted toward him and rested her head on his lap. He held the pager over his head and sighed at the number shining insistently back at him. Gently, he lifted her head from his lap and swung his legs off to the side of the bed. "Where are you going?" she asked guardedly, a roaming hand again groping for some part of his body and finding nothing. Casey was on the floor kneeling and reached back to grab her hand. "Duty calls." He missed the knuckle of her index finger. "Couldn't someone else go?" "They need the best," he replied. A smile tugged at his lips at the sound of her adorable sleepy voice and gave her hand a quick squeeze. "I'll pick you up from work later." That sounds like a vice.
She gave it a quick squeeze.
Yeah. All right. Your turn.
Okay.
Just at the top there.
All right, at the top. Okay. Now I'm taking over. An hour later, Detective Anderson stood outside of one of his best friend's apartments and rehearsing how he was going to ask the man a very odd question. By the time the other man answered the door, Anderson dropped all pretenses and went with a direct approach.
It's worse that he's trying to liven it up.
Yeah.
Like you really need to sit with how depressing and sad it was.
It's like a weird combination between like a 1940s newsreel announcer and like the narrator from the Powerpuff Girls.
Seriously.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going for.
All right, go for it.
Okay.
The city of Townsville.
Am I going to read it eventually too, or
No, we're just reading it to you.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Did you get your superpowers back?
I like that.
Oh my God.
Good evening to you, Mike. Come on in. Jefferson Reed stepped aside.
Yes!
Oh!
I'm sorry. I almost knocked out the microphones because I was so happy to hear Jefferson. Yes! Fuck yeah!
You're making popcorn.
Finally, he's there.
Fuck yeah! Woo! My man!
You're lucky that he's in this because
It's like, dude, this thing set it up so hearing Jefferson Reed is like when I see Kevin Spacey at the end of Seven. I'm like, he's in this? I forgot what we were here for until he said Jefferson.
when we did our episode on WWE, there were no actual WWE characters in the story, so our guest Matt Duckett got so like he kept thinking, okay, there's gonna be like a wrestler, right?
Yeah.
Right? And then it just never came. But like your
I was so happy to hear Jefferson Reed.
your reaction is like an alternate timeline to what if I had picked a story where there was an actual wrestler in it, because like I knew nothing about WWE.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was, can you say that sentence again?
Yeah, say it again, Daddy.
Did you get your superpowers back? Good evening to you, Mike. Come on in. Jefferson Reed stepped aside and let his friend of over 20 years enter his home. What's going on, Mike? That's what I'm trying to figure out. An hour ago, I got a guy to confess all sorts of things because a flying man told him to. In 20 years, I've only known a couple of people that could pull that off. So, Jeff, did you get your powers back? Stood. That's what it says. Stood.
Just stood.
It just says stood after that.
Wait.
Like stood with a question mark?
Stood.
No.
That's
It's
it.
so Jeff. Did you get your powers back? Question mark. End of quote. The word stood.
Stood.
No,
That's it.
no period. No comma. No anything. Just stood.
That backwards is doots. Not saying it'd be fun for a bit, but no, I'm not your guy. Besides, I hated flying, remember?
Oh, come on, Jefferson.
If I recall correctly,
You were scared of heights. Semantics. You weren't exactly lining up to do again after that time at the mall. Whatever happened to that reporter you were trying to impress?
Oh, yeah.
She got married to some billionaire, divorced him, and split his bucks.
So we've gone from Mike like
I'm really interested in this now.
interrupting with like all the jokes, and then the second Jefferson shows up, he's like, "Oh fuck give it to me."
I now get it. I like the way this guy did it.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really like the way this guy did it. Like, I was at a comedy show one time
Mm-hmm.
where this dude, a good friend of mine, was bombing for like 9 minutes.
Really?
It was at UCLA. It was packed.
Mm-hmm.
It was packed. and but he's maintaining his composure.
Mm-hmm.
And he comes up he puts the mic back in the stand. Really cool dude. And he's like, he said, I got one more joke. And he told this one joke, which was really quick. And everyone died laughing harder than they laughed at any other joke from people who had better, more complete sets. And I just remember thinking about that and being like, oh my God, that's like watching a guy go like 0 for 5 in a baseball game with 4 errors, but for some reason it goes into extra innings and he hits a walk-off home run. And that's exactly what this guy just did in this fan fiction thing. He set up all these bullshit characters that finally when I got to the guy I've been craving, I loved the guy even more because I was without him for so long.
It's like that Patton Oswalt bit with Jerry Maguire.
Yeah.
Where he's like, it's like not jerking off for 10 years and then painting the garage.
It's like beautiful sex. You wait to the end. It all sucks in the beginning, but that one moment. I'll redo it. She got married to some billionaire, divorced him, and split his bucks. Good thing that never went anywhere. So, DC has a new flying man. Interesting timing. What do you mean? In 2 days, it's community garden fest. Dang, already? Can't believe I almost forgot. 20 years ago? Where does this time go? I don't know why I'm doing that.
Why are you doing that?
I don't know. I like
I get it. He needs
It's like cuts.
human beings need air to speak, and I understand why he's
Yeah.
I get it.
It's like cuts. Like
Wouldn't it be fun if we all did that to each other all the time? Just like, so what did you think of tonight's game? We had some good passes.
Do you need an inhaler?
Everyone's sucking air right before they speak. Just
It's kind of like if you have like a Word document and you turned on all of the return symbols. That would be like the conversational equivalent of that.
American people should do that more than anybody.
Atlas.
Yeah.
Do you notice that American people like trail off at the end of sentences?
Yes.
And English people, like British people, go up at the ends of sentences.
Right, in it?
Yeah, they go up. And so I think Americans should start doing that. We need more air. I think we're running out of air by the end of our sentence.
Didn't we kill the ozone layer?
I just thought it was a Californian thing where you just kind of go,
No, everybody trails up at the end.
Yeah,
of sentences.
it's whatever, you know. It's pretty cool.
I'm
Everybody
from
trails
California. I'm in California.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a podcast. I have a YouTube channel. I play video games, and
It's like they put the volume down on themselves. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, mom's really proud of me.
My mom's really proud of me. I was molested by What?
You sound
What?
like Ryan Joseph for a second.
It was crazy. I saw murder when I was a kid, and I was so surprised to find out that it was my own.
Jerry, he's a low talker.
Every murder mystery.
I'm actually trying to write one of those right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
Oh, we should put it on the podcast.
Oh, when I finish, that's going to be a very special episode. I'm going to read that shit to you.
Oh yeah,
people.
I know what happened to Jimmy Hoffa. It's not what everybody thinks, but we were at Bennigan's, and all of a sudden.
And then Robert De Niro was like,
I've never been to a Bennigan's. All I know about it is from South Park, the Butter's very own episode.
I called bingo at a bar part time.
Yeah.
It's Ye Rustican and Los Feliz.
Mm-hmm.
It's on Hillhurst, and it's like a big dive bar. It's not a dive bar. It's much bigger. It's very fun. I was actually there last night for a comedian's birthday party, and when I'm on the mic doing bingo, I'll sometimes joke to people like when they come in the place because it's covered in, it has booze and stuff like that, but it has like a hunting a lodge theme. They'll come in and I'll be like, hey, welcome to Bennigan's, taking a booth. It usually gets a big laugh.
yeah, let's get
What
back
would
to
be
that.
the word?
And it did. I don't know why I said it usually gets a big laugh, and it
Yeah.
did. Sorry.
No, you're good.
I don't know what my insecurity comes from. I think maybe it's from because my parents were very... That's it. That bit's over. I'm sorry.
What would be the worst place to say welcome to Bennigan's as they enter?
A wine cellar.
Like a casting couch for a porno. Hey, welcome to Bennigan.
Yeah. I'm Bennigan. I'm Bennigan. I'm Bennigan.
Casting couch for a
I'm
porno is
Bennigan.
good. Yeah.
I'm Benedict Cumbercorn. Or I don't.
Yeah.
Oh damn. All right.
Benedict come up or snatch. Come on, that one
No.
No,
No.
you're supposed to do your first name
Stop.
and the name of your pet. You're supposed to name your
Stop.
pet and then your the street. Whatever.
Roscoe Bundy.
Hogan Buhia. 20 years ago, where does the time go? I know, we were both just a couple of kids back then. Yeah. No.
No, I was a kid. You two were grown-ass men.
What?
No, this is-
Wanda Sykes is in this?
Yes. Hold on. Both men turned in the direction of Aisha Reed's voice. The stunning 30-year-old stood in the doorway.
Oh,
that
Wanda
separated-
Sykes is not a stunning 30-year-old. You need to do Nia Long's voice or
I
something.
mean,
like
if it's the 90s.
Oh, it's not anymore. It's 20 years
Oh,
later.
right. You're right. My
Okay,
bad.
so who can we cast in this 30-year-old? Is she supposed to be a really pretty woman?
Yeah, stunning. Yeah, the stunning 30-year-old stood in the doorway that separated living from kitchen.
I guess it would be like Lupita or something like that. Or
Hmm.
okay, you know what? Just do Wanda Sykes.
Yeah.
Okay, living from the kitchen, holding 2 large glasses of lemonade. Aisha, you know I want you so bad.
Remind me to tell Grace you said that.
Just so offensive.
Man, whoever made this omelet. Yeah.
How you doing, kiddo? Mike stood up and hugged the younger woman tightly after she handed the glasses to Jefferson.
Oh shit.
I was doing just fine until you came busting in my house like the police. What did my husband do?
Now I feel kind of bad doing this.
Yeah, no.
What, the
you're,
Wanda
you're gonna have
impression or,
like no career after that.
I mean, he's got a bit about like how Wanda Sykes sounds like Richard Pryor if you inhaled helium. So
That's not completely off.
what I'm saying is that like he's done it before and hasn't gotten in trouble for it. I don't like.
I only get in trouble for it if it's a bad impression.
It's a good impression though. So
No, that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Like if it's bad, then I get fucking like that was cool. bro.
vilified. I mean that's why I'm bad for dialogue heavy stuff.
Did you ever notice that Trevor Noah sounds exactly like Richard Pryor if Richard Pryor didn't do coke or grow up in a whorehouse? Have you noticed that?
Ooh,
Sorry.
Oh
very
my
specific.
God.
It's like overly specific.
Like, think about it. It's a deep cut.
You know, honestly, like I can kind of see it. I can kind of see it now. It's. I totally understand what
You're talking about. That's my best South African voice.
That's
I
really
can
good.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
do. I don't know. I mean, kind of off topic. Like it's an odd accent to do for doing comedy. It's like whenever I hear him talk, it's like I'm being taken on a tour of Hawaii. It's like, and if you
Right.
look over there, you can see over there, there's volcanoes. It's like, they look so lovely. It's like, I don't know.
That sounded almost Australian.
Yeah,
that
I was
sounded
bleeding
very
into
Australian.
Australia. See,
Yeah.
it's not quite there.
No, it's hard to maintain. I can imagine. Yeah.
Okay.
over to America and there's black people, but they're not like that's how he
that's
talks.
better.
Yeah,
That's better. I
black.
like that.
He says
Black.
black. He's South African. He's not
Yeah.
English.
How'd you know? Hold on.
I was doing just fine until you came busting in my house like the police. What did my husband do?
How'd you know this is about him?
Please, I'm a good girl. I've heard the stories about you two.
On the past, I assure you, love of my life. There we go. Now I can hear my voice. Mike just here could just to accuse me of vigilantism. Don't you just hate profiling?
2013, I still have a hard time handling a cab.
Aisha fell into Jefferson's lap, then took his glass.
By the way,
from him.
all future guests of this podcast do not pick an African American film. I made a mistake. I didn't know he would do this. And now he's ruined Meteor Man.
Oh, so it's Nick's fault.
I
now.
hope you get hit. I hope you get hit by a meteor, and not in the cool get superpowers way. I mean, like burnt up, and you experience all of it every second, as long as you can of the burn.
I love you too,
You
Mike.
white devil piece of shit.
Never before has Nick had ill will wished upon him in this room. I've had plenty of people threaten to kill me.
I hope you come back in your next life as a snowman, and you get peed on, and you melt.
And I hope this snowman has nerve endings
I hope
for some reason.
I hope
This
I hope
snowman-
Wanda Sykes is drunk one night, wandering through a neighborhood full of snowmen, and sees you, and she pees on you, and you melt. That's what I hope. Anyway, continue with the story. I'm interested.
Okay. Oh my God.
We're near the end here, so
Okay.
yeah.
Let's see. Jeff, you know I had to cover my bases. Even though you were moonlighting as a suntan Superman, it's not like I'd bust my own friend. I just wanted to check. Those were some crazy times, partner. Partner. P-O-T-N-A. Partner.
Oh wow!
Oh, he wrote the
Wow,
accent.
he knows
That's
the
nice.
culture.
He wrote the- See, you should be complaining he's doing this to me.
Partner.
Although spelling it like that, you could easily have it be Peter Griffin. Partner. You know?
Partner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were, but the past is the past.
Yeah.
Across town, Darlene Smith painfully dragged her body along the small area of carpeting outside of her apartment that had yet to burst into flames. See, these are just, again, these are run-on sentences.
Yeah.
Across town, Darlene Smith painfully dragged her body along the small area of carpeting outside of her apartment that had yet to burst into flames.
That's close. I
I
mean,
mean, I don't know. It just bothered me.
they could have just said catch fire.
I don't know.
It's fine.
If her leg was not broken, it may as well have been for all the usefulness it offered. Tears streamed down her face as smoke stung her eyes, and the possibility of death was becoming more inevitable. A violent cough shook Darlene's entire body and halted her progress. The sharp pain of her leg injury grew even less tolerable, and she just wanted it to stop.
Stood.
Stood.
As the lonely stood.
Through blurred vision, she glimpsed what she imagined to be a pair of boots approaching her. In the time it took her to blink again, she had been lifted from the ground by a pair of powerful arms. "You'll be okay," a voice obviously belonging to her rescuer assured her. The next thing she felt was a weightless sensation, as if she was flying. A moment later, she tried to pierce the veil of her blurred vision once more, but could discern nothing.
Wait, hang on. Obviously came from her rescuer. Duh. Like, imagine like she's being lifted up and then across the room you hear, "You'll be okay."
Or it's like, "Yeah, you'll be okay."
Yeah.
Obviously, if it's like, I think I know who my savior was.
Kermit the Frog?
Yes. Somebody talked.
I'm no longer safe here. Okay.
The scream of a siren was the second most comforting sound she had heard that night. Even as she tried to sit up, a pair of EMTs offered their assistance. One of them strapped an
that's what they do.
Yeah.
An EMT,
So you're in
the surprise sentence would be an EMT offered her a piece of gum. What she
Yeah.
just said, an EMT did his job. Like that's
Yeah.
They offered their assistance, like they weren't going to give it unless she was in pain.
Or they'll ask you questions about.
Yeah, it's not like when people are
mean-
on the ground bleeding from their leg, like an EMT comes up and goes, "Hey, I'm an EMT. Are you cool?"
Are you choking? Like, do you want my help or do you got it?
That would be funny if there was like an EMT who's like overly concerned with being intrusive. He's
Can I put my hands on you?
I know, me too. Hashtag me too. Like I know, like.
Can I put my hands on you, even though you were clearly paralyzed from the neck down now?
Is it okay if I put you on this gurney? Ooh, she's unconscious. We should wait for her to wake up so she can answer. Like, we need consent from her.
I don't want that life.
You're gonna be fine, is what I'm supposed to say.
I'm not a frat boy douchebag. I'm no frat boy douchebag. One of them strapped an oxygen mask over her face and instructed her to breathe slowly. She coughed several times, expelling the smoke from her lungs. Just like that.
You're welcome.
Darlene blinked back several tears and managed to see other EMTs
Wait, what?
attending.
Blinked back several tears?
Blinked back several tears.
Oh, that's like when you... Wait, no. You don't blink back.
Oh, no, it's more when you're trying not to cry.
It's
Yeah,
like
but that's not called blinked back.
Yeah.
Wink, wink, wink.
Yeah, because
Are you crying? No, I'm blinking.
I'm just blinking really hard.
No, I'm blinking because,
I'm not a pussy, I swear.
my eyes are so dry.
Darlene blinked back several tears because she's a pussy
Yeah,
and managed to
gotcha.
see other EMTs attending to several other people she had not noticed. Well, I mean, I assume you wouldn't. You're in pain. Like, you wouldn't notice the other guys. I don't know. From another rooftop, Jamal Mitchell watched as the firemen combated what remained of the fire. "Good old-fashioned heroics," a voice behind him remarked. Jamal turned to face the voice. Bewilderment etched on his face.
Oh.
How? ... "Did I get the drop on you?" finished the slightly older man standing before him. His black hair was neatly trimmed and combed back. He wore black jeans, a hunter green sleeveless shirt, and black boots.
Oh.
"Yeah," Jamal confessed, curiosity getting the better of him. "It's a gift, so judging by how shocked you are to see me floating her, I guess you didn't... Wait. It's a gift, so judging by how shocked you are to see me floating her, I guess you didn't know what's going on right now. I can honestly say that I don't." Just like me, I don't know what's going on.
I know,
either.
right?
Honesty's great. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I get it. No, I get it. The biggest problem in our society is people being honest. I get it in that sense. This guy's a genius.
I can
really-
honestly say.
So you remember how I said when Jefferson Reed came in, how excited I was? And I understood that all that boring shit.
That was like a slow
Yeah,
burn.
this
Yeah.
guy has now lost me again.
It's like it's like the reverse of that set your friend had now. Like,
Yeah,
you did
now it's-
amazing. Now it's
Now it's a guy doing 8 minutes of good shit and then closing on like a joke that you should not make. That murder just happened 2 hours ago.
yeah. You should have just left after that.
No,
Dude.
what it was instead was like 8 minutes of shit, the one good joke, and then he's like, "Oh, okay, I can keep going," and then keeps going and ruins it for
Right.
himself.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
This is the last sentence.
Thank God.
This is the last 2 lines. Don't worry about it. That's why they pay me the big bucks. The man reached into his pocket and retrieved a card. So this is how this works. You talk to the guy at this address. If you like what he has to say, fine. If not, you walk away. Either way, welcome to the club, Meteor Man. Ba, 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 ba.
Yeah. Okay.
Roll credits.
Okay.
So that was Meteor Man 2.0.
Kevin Hart would never do that.
Don't pitch us to Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart will never do that film. Okay. All right. That was interesting.
So
I do like the idea of that there are multiple Meteor Men
Yeah.
later on.
Have you seen that YouTube video where it's Patton Oswalt pitched a sequel to Unbreakable before like the actual sequel happened?
No.
So his idea was like in the original Unbreakable, you can see on Samuel Jackson's like wall in the background, there's like newspaper clippings of other Unbreakables. So his sequel idea is that like Bruce Willis goes out to find more Unbreakables, and that I don't know. It just kind of reminded me of what they were going for with this, but it was like,
well,
who cares?
What sucks about this though is that it's completely devoid of any kind of humor.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, like-
it's like they took Meteor Man and put it in the world of like Sin City, and like that's not what Meteor Man's about, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not about, I don't know. Like, it was just so much like...
This happened with another one where it was a comedy series and the fan fiction was like super serious.
Oh, yeah. Okay, what was that one?
Aside from the Seinfeld one, they went for it at least, and it was
Right.
just, yeah.
Shit, was that Abby McBeal?
Ally McBeal.
Was that it?
Yeah, I think that was it. It was just like not funny at all.
Ally McBeal was
Yeah.
a comedy.
It was. Yes.
Yeah, very...
I've seen every episode. I guess I missed that.
I think Robert Downey Jr. missed it, too.
Here's the thing. I don't know if he's lying about seeing every
Yeah, I'm
episode.
lying about seeing-
Okay, I couldn't tell if it was that or if it.
My mom used to watch it, and I remember watching it one time. I was like, I'm gonna go watch the Wayne's Brothers show. This is bullshit. Whatever you're watching.
Yeah, so...
I'm gonna go watch Martin.
So, Mike, you already kind of told us how you would punch this up, but how would you fix the story? What would you do? Like, if you were to fix the story?
Oh God, there was just so many inconsequential characters.
I know, right?
Yeah, I well, first of all, there's like no mention of the Golden Lords, which is huge.
The antagonists.
Yeah, what needs to happen is that like you need to, like I would have a kid about to join the Golden Lords. Like there's a kid and there's 4 Golden Lords or whatever the new version of the Golden Lords is, which again I think should be like one of these like Lil Pump looking guys.
The Platinum Lords. I don't know.
The rainbow rousers, whatever. The rainbow colored.
Was that a Pokemon reference?
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, in Meteor Man, also remember the Bloods and the Crips are also involved. In
That's
Meteor
true.
Man.
Yeah.
But they're like deuteragonists, kind of. They're just, they're not really the main.
Well, it's so weird.
villains.
What's so funny about this is that like Meteor Man gets rid of the Golden Lords with the help of the Bloods and the Crips. So the Golden Lords are gone. What happens after it's over? Do the Bloods and the Crips now feud over DC and Meteor Man has more? Like that's the part that I was rereading the plot and I was like, Jesus, it's gonna be a bloodbath after this movie's over.
Yeah.
Once we get rid of these Dennis Rodman looking dudes.
It kind of reminds me of that South Park episode where he makes peace with the Bloods and the Crips by just saying, "Come on."
Come on.
That's it. But, like,
Yeah, like, it's like, come on.
So yeah, maybe I would have something like that or whatever because I guess you want it to be an updated version. 'Cause my idea was just rebooting Meteor Man, but
so like just from the beginning, or
I'm just saying modernize it. It should be like a teacher like on the south side of Chicago, since Chirac is like a huge thing. Still, make it like a teacher on the south side of Chicago, who tries to keep his students from joining the local gangs and everything like that, and just kind of like the same as Meteor Man, but like
so a little like Stand and Deliver also, or
well, I mean there is that aspect of that in Meteor Man, but what's great about it is that it's written. There's comedians in it, number one, so
True.
They never take themselves too seriously, even though what they're talking about is actually quite serious. He's in a neighborhood that's infected by poverty and gangs and drugs. But it's handled with levity.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's what I would change personally about what I just read now. The story's decent. Like, a whole bunch of Meteor Men
show up.
Yeah, just like, who's to say that the meteor only hit this one guy in DC? Yeah, so that's interesting. But just adding a little levy to it, like a punchline or two. This guy was this Catcher in the Rye shit. That's just like
it's like a superhero movie like that meets Love Actually.
Yeah, sort of. Because we heard about like 9 inconsequential people before we got to.
He has these amazing powers, but what's his love life like?
Yeah, seriously.
or
is he awkward at dates on Meet Cutes?
Actually, Meteor Man meets Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants.
Oh,
no,
yeah, callback.
What is this? A crossover episode?
Yeah.
It would be funny if they had his character and Eddie Griffin's character, like 20 years later, and they're still just single, and it's just both like being Meteor Man.
See, if it was a true fan fiction, then they would end up fucking each other.
They would.
Yeah.
That would be fun, right there. We find out that Eddie Griffin and Meteor Man are just 2 gay guys in DC now.
Yeah. It's like, man, you look cute in them jeans.
What are we doing?
Shout out to Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Griffin?
Shout out to Eddie Murphy. That was one of his jokes.
Oh,
But he's doing Mr. T.
Yeah,
he's gay Mr. T.
It would be. Yeah, I guess it would be gay fan fiction at that point.
There's a lot of them.
There is a lot of them.
Or the Golden Lord and Meteor Man.
Yeah.
The Golden Lords come back, and maybe they both touch a copy of Moonlight at the same time.
There it is.
That's it. I think we found it.
And then
You did it.
Yeah, for you folks who don't remember, there is one of the powers, one of the most contrived rules that they set up is that anytime he touches a book, so if he touches a book that was written by Bruce Lee, all of a sudden he knows everything about martial arts.
Yeah.
I'm saying they re-meet and they fight again. Same Golden Lord is back, and then they both touch a copy of Moonlight accidentally. And they just
accidentally
they just have sex, and then the whole neighborhood's like
yeah
we're
both
gonna go home.
they both like go to the library, and then they both go, man, the book I was looking for. They both grab it together.
Yeah.
Oh my God. These were all better ideas, and I just, if you listen to this episode and suggestions that someone's made and you write it, please God send it to us.
Even though their love is unbreakable, they still get mistaken for La La Land.
Perfect. It's a perfect note to end this episode on. Mike, thank you very much for coming on Bad Reading.
Thank you for letting me talk about Meteor Man.
No,
Please watch it.
Yeah, definitely. Go check out the actual thing, because it's not as terrible as the story we just read.
And thank you, everyone. I want to thank everybody for letting our guests bash his ill will against me. I'm going to come back as a snowman. I'm excited for that. That'll be cool. Literally.
Where can people find you out there on the interwebs?
Instagram at Mike the Menendez. Mike MIKETHE Menendez MENENDEZ.
We'll leave the link in the show notes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and I'm always doing comedy shows and everything like that, so please come out. Yeah.
Cool. Nick, where can people find you?
You can find me at Millennial Comic on Instagram.
He hates that so much. That's great.
You wrote this fan fiction, didn't you?
I do know nothing about it, so yeah.
I know.
You can find me at Atlas Novak on Twitter or Instagram, and then you can find this podcast at Bad Reading Pod, also on Twitter or Instagram. And if you like the show, please tell your friends and send it around and stuff, because we always appreciate it.
Atlas, talk to the audience. They're right there.
Oh, right. There's a camera there.
You gotta talk to them, Atlas.
Well, okay. Like the show, tell your friends, leave a rating on whatever podcast app you happen to be watching this on, or like it on the YouTube video or whatever. Smash that like button, notification squad, something.
Next week we're going to be playing Fortnite. Okay, bye.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Peace.